Hey friends, welcome and or welcome back to my channel. My name is Erin and I just want to take a second to thank you for taking time out of your day to spend with me because today we will be discussing the series that I would like to finish before the end of 2024. Now, I will say that I'm really quick to start series, to say the least, but finishing them in a timely manner is kind of hard for me. I feel like with fantasy, you are almost always getting a series. Rarely ever are we getting standalones now. So I just feel like it's impossible to stay caught up on all the series. And a struggle out here. And then all the romance books are starting to be interconnected standalones, and it's just a time for us. And I am trying to stay on track. So this is just a list of series that I would like to finish by the end of the year. But just a little bit. But I'm gonna make the best push that I can on it, and we'll see what happens. So, just for quick reference, I am in the middle of about 27 series, give or take. And so, there's no way that I can be fully caught up on those 27. And, that's a combination of, maybe the series not being finished yet, still waiting on books to come out, or a lot of that is me waiting on the paperbacks to come out because I just prefer to have a paperback. Or, if I have a series in one way or the other, I like to keep it that way. So if I start off buying a series in hardback, I'm going to continue to buy them all in hardback. And if I start out in paperback, which is usually the case because that's what I prefer, then we are waiting a little bit longer unless it's already a finished series because, for some reason, the publishing industry decided that we needed to wait sometimes years before the paperback is released. So, yeah. Anyway, let's get into this list. Alrighty, first up, we have the Aurelian Cycle, which is by Rosaria Munda, and that is a YA fantasy series. This series starts off with Fireborn, and I have already read this and have given it 4 stars. Really enjoyed it. And then we have Flamefall, the second book in the series, and I have started this and I am over halfway at this point, but I had to put this down because I just wasn't really in the mood for it. It was a little heavier than what I have been able to process. So I will be going back and picking this up. I was really into the story, really having a good time with it. I just want to make sure that I am in the correct mental space when I read this. And then this year I would need to read the final book in that trilogy, and that is Fury Song. So I technically have a book and a half, if you will, to finish in this series before the end of 2024. Next up, we have a Forging of Age duology, with the first book being Bones to the Wind by Tatiana Obey. And this is a duology. I think it's an adult fantasy. I have not started this first book, so this will be me reading this book as well as the sequel, which I'm going to pop up on screen right now because I don't own it. And the name of that sequel is Dragging Your Bones. So I'm hoping to read both of these books before the end of 2022. What? So not only was I off, but I was off at 2 years. What? 2022? That's wild. That's wild. I meant before the end of 2024. There we go. Next up, we have an adult romance trilogy, and that is the Boyfriend Project series by Farah Roshan. And this is a series of interconnected standalones. So I would need to read the Boyfriend Project, and I'll also need to read the second book in this series, the Dating Playbook. But I did a thing and I ended up reading the last book in the series first. So I have already completed the, why am I holding it like that? Weirdo. I have already read the Hookup Plan. Really enjoyed it. I think I ended up giving this a 4-star. So I'm working my way backwards with this series, and I need to read 2 to complete the trilogy. So next up, we have a pretty large saga that I am hoping to finally finish this year, and that is the Hades and Persephone saga. So this is a little complicated because it's essentially two separate series that make up a larger saga. So I'm just going to talk about the larger saga as a whole because that just seems like the easiest thing to do. So I have already read and reread this year A Touch of Darkness by Scarlett St. Clair. And this is the first book, and I gave it, pretty sure I gave this a 4-star. And then the second book in this larger saga is called A Game of Fate. And I've already read this as well, and I think this was a 3-star. The third book in this series, A Touch of Ruin, I have completed, and I ended up giving this, I think, a 3 or 3.5 star. The fourth book in this saga is called A Game of Retribution, and I've read that, and I gave it a 3.5 star. Following that book, we have A Touch of Malice, and I ended up giving this 3.5 or 4, I can't remember, but something like that. And then moving into the books that I have not completed, we have A Game of Gods, and we also have the last book in the saga, A Touch of Chaos, that I still need to complete. So that is 2 books that I need to finish off this saga series. Next up, we have the Deviant Kings series, and this is an adult fantasy romance series by Jenny L. Maxwell that starts off with The Dark King, and I have completed this book and have rated this book a 4-star. The second book in the trilogy is one that I need to read, and that is The Rebel King. And the last book in rounding out this trilogy is The Vicious King, and that actually does not come out until the end of July. So unless the author announces another book, this will be the end of this trilogy and another series wrapped up for me. Moving right along, we have another duology, and that is the Veil Kingdom duology by Holly Renee. And I have read The Veil Kingdom, and I gave it a 4-star. And the second book, The Hunted Heir, has not come out yet. I think it's supposed to come out in August, but with the crazy things happening in the book world, I'm not sure. I'm hoping, fingers crossed, that it still comes out in August, and then I'll be able to wrap up this duology. And it is, I think, new adult / adult romantasy. I also want to finish another Holly Renee series, and that is the Stars and Shadows series. That starts off with A Kingdom of Stars and Shadows, which I've read, and I think I gave that 3.5 stars. The second book in that series being A Kingdom of Blood and Betrayal. The third book being A Kingdom of Venom and Vows, and then the fourth book being A Kingdom of Fire and Fate. And I'm hoping to finish all of these. I know it sounds like a lot, but these are actually pretty short, and I was able to get through it really quickly. So I am hoping that I'll be able to finish this series this year. Next up is 3 books that will be a part of a larger saga, but it's, again, like I mentioned earlier, a saga of smaller series. So this is very well known, and it is I think it's an adult, maybe new adult romantasy, and that is The Serpent and the Wings of Night by Carissa Broadbent. And then I would like to go into 6 Scorched Roses, which is a novella in this world that I think you're supposed to read in between. And then we have The Ashes and The Star-Cursed King. And I need to read all of these because I know that the series is continuing, and we'll be getting, I think, maybe a new couple towards the end of the year. So I want to make sure that that's read so I can go into that and be caught up. Next, we have a sci-fi series that I keep talking about it, but it just really intimidates me, and I haven't gotten to it yet. And I am determined to read the series before the end of 2024. And that is the Locked Tomb series by Tamsin Muir, which starts with Gideon the Ninth. I have been talking about this book and talking about it, and I'm just so intimidated by it. Even though I think I'll absolutely love it, I just haven't made myself pick it up yet. But like I said, before the end of the year, this is definitely going to happen. And then I also have the second book, Harrow the Ninth, And I also have the third book in this series, and that is Nona the Ninth. And I've heard that we're supposed to be getting at least one more in this series, but I haven't seen an announcement about it yet. But we'll see what happens with that. But at least I'll be caught up. And then we have this series. It's kind of a mixture of things. It's kind of like a fantasy, romance, suspense, historical type situation. I am just eating it up, and I want to finish it out this year. I think that's very possible. And that is the All Souls series by Deborah Harkness, which starts off with A Discovery of Witches, which I have read and have given 4.5 stars. We have Shadow of Night, which I've also read, and I think I gave this either 3 or 3.5 stars. We have The Book of Life, which I have not read yet. And we then have Times Convert, and I haven't read that yet. And then we also have the fifth book in the series, which I think is being released at the end of July as well. And that is Blackbird Oracle. So once that comes out, I'll be able to finish the series and, be done with it. Another check mark on the list. And I have an adult fantasy romance series, and that is Mages of the Wheel by J.D. Evans. And that starts off with Reign and Ruin, which I have read, and I gave that 4 stars. And the second book is Storm and Shield, and I've read that as well and given that 3 or 3.5 stars. In the last 2 books, I need to finish this series. We have Siren and Scion, and the 4th book is Ice and Ivy. And that is it for that series. So that is a list of the, I think it's either 10 or 11 series that I would like to finish before the end of 2024. Like I said, I feel like this list is probably very much so delusional, but it's good to have goals, even if you don't necessarily reach them. It's something to strive for, and that's what I like to do. So if you read and finished any of these series, please let me know what you thought about them, and I will catch you in the next video. Thank you so much for watching and taking time out of your day to spend with me and talking about these series. And I would also like to give a shout out to anyone who has subscribed to my channel here recently. I can't thank y'all enough for actually watching my videos and for supporting me in that way. I don't even have any words. So thank you again, and I'll catch you in the next video. Bye.